I really do not know how to start this next episode. I'm going a little bit off track here from my usual welcome to the Creative Boom podcast, and I am your host, Katy Cowan. And instead, I am staring deeply into the endearing eyes of a miniature Paddington bear on my desk. And this is all inspired by a chat I had this morning with the very lovely Liz Mosley, a graphic designer and Adobe Express ambassador, and also the wonderful host of Building Your Brand podcast. The whole theme of this conversation is about why she started her own show, what she learned, what it's done for her in terms of her career and her network, and why she loves doing it so much. What I didn't realise is that it was going to be a cathartic experience for myself as well. So rather selfishly, I was asking her lots of questions about her experiences with doing something like this. And we ended up just swapping lots of little stories and highs and lows. I found it so helpful. And I promised myself that for this specific episode, I would start without a script. I would just talk, and I would follow her tip to sit a little cuddly toy on my desk and talk to it. Honestly, it was a good reminder that no matter how long you've done something, there's always room for improvement. And this is my mission now for the rest of the season. I'm going to get better at talking to nobody. This season of the Creative Boom podcast is proudly sponsored by the School of Communication Arts, the most awarded ad school in the world. And now they've launched something truly exciting, SCA Online Portfolio. It's a new, fully online course designed to make creative education more inclusive, accessible, and flexible. Whether you're just starting out or switching careers, you'll learn how to build a jaw-dropping portfolio that opens doors, all guided by award-winning mentors from the creative industries. You'll get real briefs, live feedback, and support from a community that genuinely wants to see you thrive. And the best part? You can do it all remotely, at your own pace, from anywhere in the world. So if you've been dreaming of breaking into advertising or design, but didn't know where to start, this is your moment. Check out SCA Online Portfolio now at schoolcommunicationarts.com. And guess what? We're offering a £500 discount to our Creative Boom listeners. Just use the code BOOM500 at checkout. We're talking today about podcasting. Yay! Like my favourite thing to talk about, actually.
Same.
And it was your idea, Liz, so I'm looking forward to getting into this. It's been good for us, hasn't it? It's fair to say.
I think that's the top line message is that it's amazing.
Yeah. Right, we can go home then. That's it. Thank you for listening to the Creative Boom podcast. Actually, I was listening to your podcast the other day, just doing a little bit of research. You are so good at your intros.
Oh, do you think?
Oh, yeah, really good, like a natural.
Oh, thanks. Because I do them, I've been debating about whether I should change up how I do them, because I do them after the fact. And I've usually forgotten what we talked about by then. So I'm like, I think we spoke about this.
No, it's great. You're natural. And I've always struggled with that because I don't know why, maybe it's just easier for me with the conversation bit, which frankly is easier if you're a good listener, I guess. But yeah, just talking, like doing the intro. I even find the bit where I say, yeah, you're welcome to the Creative Boom podcast. I'm your host, Katy Cowan. I find it so contrived and forced, and it really throws me. And other people have said, just get a teddy bear and put it in front of you and talk to that. I'm like, oh, maybe. I don't know. So how do you do it? That's my first question.
One of the things that I did was I ditched, like how most podcasts have a like an intro that they have every time, same intro. I just got rid of it because I was like, either people have been listening to it for ages and it's getting annoying.
Yes.
Or if you're new, I kind of feel like you get a sense of it pretty quickly. So yeah, in a controversial move, I just ditched that completely. Then for the intro, So my podcast editor will usually pull out a little bit from the episode. Then there's a tiny bit of music. And then it's just like a minute of me just being like, here's who my guest is. And this is what we're going to, like, this is kind of roughly what we're going to talk about. And maybe some thought of mine as to like how it impacted me. But that's it. I just keep it short, basically.
I love it. I've done that. I've also done the one where it just goes straight into me asking a question and then I don't introduce myself or the podcast. I've gone back to the sort of, but I just do this is the Creative Being Podcast. I'm your host, Katy Cowan. Yeah. And I think what happens is I have a break from doing my show. I listen to a ton of other podcasts. And I'm probably subconsciously, mentally taking notes. And I say, oh, actually, that's a really established podcast. And they still say the name of the podcast and the hosts. So maybe I should do that as well then. So I go round and round in circles and it changes every time. And I think this is the lovely thing about doing your own project. You can just play with it and try new things and see what happens.
Yeah. And like if you get bored, like, so I think, because mine's always had quite a similar sort of setup, you know, like it's always been this, it's like I've never really massively changed like how it's edited. But recently I was listening to Dish, which is the Waitrose podcast.
Ooh.
And that sounds very posh, doesn't it? But actually it's actually really good. And they have all these like cute little sound effects in. So they're basically all sitting having a meal together and they do like clinking of like knives and forks and stuff and like glasses. And so my podcast editor had been suggesting to me for ages that we should put in sound effects, but I was like, oh no, I'm not sure about that. And then I listened to that. It was almost like that clicked for me and then I got it. And so I was like, okay, do it, go with the sound effects. So when there's like a sort of break in the conversation, she'll put in like tapping of like computer keys or the rustling of paper. And I actually love it. And so I think there's like little things that you can do to make it feel fresh again, you know, when you get bored, because I do get bored.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I love having a producer as well because they can come up with all these nice ideas.
Yeah.
James is ours from Be Heard and he puts in a little swoosh.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I like that.
Like you know, like a page is sort of being moved across a screen. I quite like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs it sometimes. It's one of those projects, don't you find, doing a podcast, that there's nowhere to hide. You start it with, well, in my experience, I can't even say I had experience. I was a broadcast journalist. I basically read the news for 5 years and worked to scripts. So a completely different thing to presenting, essentially, completely different skill set required. So I would say I started with a rough idea of how to do things, but I was coming at it from a journalist point of view. Not that that makes me good at what I do. I'm just curious. I just like chatting with people. But you very much start with this ground zero baseline. It's quite unnerving, isn't it? Did you feel that way when you got started? I mean, what made you start the podcast in the first place?
So it was really funny, actually, because I think like I am a sort of a classic extrovert. Like I love chatting to people. I love like anything where I'm having conversations. I think like you, like I'm really curious. And so I love hearing people's stories. So I think in the back of my mind, I always thought, oh, that would be something that I'd probably really enjoy. But I did the classic thing where I was like, but everyone's doing it, so I'm not going to do it. You know, like, and then I think I just had a realization one day where I was like, oh my goodness, I am like ruining this for me. Because if it's something that I love, I should just do it anyway, even if everyone else is doing it. And basically what happened was I made friends with this person called Lucy, who is a podcast producer, and we just sort of became internet friends. And she wanted, I must have mentioned to her that I was like, had thought about it and she needed new branding. And so we actually did a skill swap. So basically I did her branding and she edited my first 12 episodes of my podcast. So that to me, that felt like a low risk way of sort of trying it out and seeing if I did actually love it. But yeah, it was like, it is always humbling when you start something new because you have to basically accept like, you have to accept that idea that to get to where you want to be, like, you have to go through the sort of like cringe, awkward beginning bit. But we all want it to be like perfect straight away, and it never is gonna be.
Question though, when does the cringe, embarrassing bit stop? Because I still feel like a beginner. I really do.
I mean, maybe it's not that the cringe stops. Maybe it's that your capacity to like handle the cringe increases. Yeah. Like, so you just become more used to the cringe.
Oh gosh, it's so true. It really is like a brave thing. Well, maybe brave's not the right word. Maybe it is. It's a brave thing to do because, you know, you haven't got time to rehearse it really, have you? It's just all on the whim.
Yeah. It is nice knowing that it can be edited. I think that makes me feel better about it. Like, sometimes I ask questions and I realize that I've basically just asked the same question like 5 times in 5 different ways, just trying to sort of articulate. But actually, I was talking to someone whose partner is a presenter, so probably similar to the sort of thing that you used to do. And she was saying that actually interviewers, like on TV, will often do that. They'll ask the same question almost like in 3 different ways to put the guest at ease. And so then I was like, oh my goodness, it's an actual thing. Like, me waffling subconsciously, like, that is actually putting my guest at ease, because then they don't feel like they have to be perfect because I'm not being I'm giving them the same question from different angles, so giving them longer to process it and work out what it is I'm trying to say. But I was like, I never knew that was an actual thing that I was just naturally doing.
No, it's great. And I suppose you also do the thing, because I've got to know you a little bit from the podcast we did on your amazing show. Thank you for inviting me on that. Or I can't remember, did I invite myself on?
I definitely invited you because you were on my wish list for ages, and so I was like, one day I just went for it.
Well, I think you were on my wish list as well, because it was one of those things. I must get round to doing some self-promotion at some point, and never getting round to it. But anyway, do you do this thing as well where you try and relate to I suppose it's just a natural human trait. So if you've got your guest being quite vulnerable, you might then sort of step in after giving them space, obviously, and say, oh yeah, I found that, I did this, I had that bad thing happen, and then it makes the guest feel even more at ease, doesn't it? Because then they know that they're in a safe space. But there is nothing more disarming, I think, than having a microphone in front of you.
Yeah. I think that's true. I do think you get more used to it. Like, I think now I just don't think about it that much, or I try not to overthink it. But yeah, I mean, it is. And I think the thing with podcasting as well is that it is such like an intimate format. You know, like, if you think about when people are listening, like, you're right in their ears, usually with headphones. Usually they're doing something, you know, like in their day-to-day lives that's actually quite like personal to them. So you're like with them in that moment. And so I think that does freak me out sometimes, where I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm like being piped right into their ears. Like, oh yeah.
Whilst they're cleaning or doing the gardening or sketching.
Going for a walk.
It's really nice. And it's nice that they keep coming back.
Yeah, true.
Must be doing something right.
Yeah.
You're right about the not overthinking. It's, if you do start thinking about it too much, I think it then loses the natural flow. I'm very sort of laid back about it. I'll rock up 10 minutes before. Sometimes I'll have notes prepped. Sometimes I won't. More often than not, I won't. And it's just a case of, we're just going to have a really nice chat and see where it goes. Because you have a great format similar to what I'm trying to achieve, in that you allow just a natural conversation. There's no kind of like, right, and on to the next question. And on to the next question, which I, hear quite a lot of on some industry podcasts, which aren't as good as ours.
One of the things that I did have to learn is I don't ever unless they really sort of beg for it, I don't ever send my guests the questions ahead of time. Yes. Because my experience has been, when they like prep, the conversation is so much harder. So I'll tend to have questions in front of me, but I don't ever follow them exactly. It's more just like, in case my mind goes blank, I can look at the screen and there's a question. It's never like I need to ask these questions in this order. I just follow where the conversation goes. But yeah, it's interesting. I have had some interesting episodes where I sent the questions ahead of time. And then one of them, they were like almost reading the answers off the screen. And I was like, no, please don't do that.
No, I know I've had similar, actually, if I'm honest. But even when I haven't sent them questions, I have had guests on before who've had like flashcards in front of them on the desk. And it's so obvious when they sort of panic and they're searching for that flashcard where they wanted to get across a point, and they then read from the flashcard and you're sat there going, no, I don't want you to be prepped. I want you to just take all of that aside. I mean, I think if that ever happens again, I will say, have you got notes in front of you? Do you mind getting rid of them? Yeah,
I think that's a good idea, because I think the thing that I try and do now is just make it clear to people that it's actually like a really relaxed thing. It's going to be edited. You know, it's not just going to go out as is. So if there is a bit where they pause for ages or they get stuck, like, that's totally fine. But yeah, I think I would do the same. Just be like, it's just get rid of the notes, ditch the notes. But I think the other thing that I have to remind myself though is like, I don't get nervous now doing podcast episodes, but for some people who don't do it as much, it feels like a really big deal.
Yes.
So I do get that. I get that it's not, it's not as easy for some people to just rock up and have the conversation. But yeah, notes, questions in advance just haven't worked well for me.
It's always the PRs. I don't know if you've ever interviewed somebody via a PR professional or agency.
Occasionally, yeah.
And they'll say, have you got a list of questions? Can we prep our client? And I'll say no.
Yeah.
We're just going to have a conversation around this theme. And to be honest, I can't give you a list of questions because I don't know what they're going to be. It's going to be a conversation.
If they ask for them, it always really stresses me out because I always write them right at the last minute. So I'm like, I don't have any questions.
Well, you can borrow that one. You can just say the way my show works and why it works well is because it's just a natural flow of a conversation. Like you might be overhearing down the pub or in a coffee shop or eavesdropping on a couple of friends talking over a hedge.
Yeah, and I do, like, based on the podcast I've listened to, like, that is definitely the style that I much prefer. Like, I want to feel like I'm sort of sitting there with them, overhearing what they're chatting about, rather than it being this sort of like very formal, almost like forced, like almost like checklist of we need to get these buzzwords in.
Yeah, I think it works for a certain type of category in podcasts. So if it's like really highly technical, or if it's like very highbrow, I think it works for the podcast host to ask a series of questions, because actually it's really funny when you're listening along to, I don't know, I think I was listening to Mark Zuckerberg on a podcast recently because I just find it really interesting to see where his head's at, and because he was in a New Yorker article the other day saying that social media is dead, and I thought, oh, the irony.
Nice. Yeah, wow.
Okay. Right, the guy who made it.
Good luck with your business
and then killed it is gaslighting us, bless him. But it's always interesting to see where these, tech billionaires are heading, what they're sort of focusing on next. And that style of podcast, I think, suits that format. But for things like this, I think it's just a nice, relaxed chat. And I always just tell the guest, if they're worried, I'm not Jeremy Paxman. You don't have to. I'm not going to be like, so what do you think of AI? And it better be good.
Yeah. Or like trying. Yeah. It's not like you're trying to catch. It's not like a sort of cutthroat news reporting thing where you're trying to catch them out or trying to get them to confess something shocking.
I know. Well, it's Creative Boom. We're like supportive. We're not going to.
We like you.
Yeah, we love you. We're inviting you on the show because we like what you do and we want to hear what you have to say. It's a good one. Have you ever had a PR insist on being there in the background?
Yeah, once. It was awful. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad all around. I had, and the same episode, actually, they'd obviously had media training. I think this must be what it was. They had media training where they always said my name back to me. So I'd ask them a question and they'd say, well, that's an interesting question, Liz. but almost like way excessively, so it didn't feel natural. So they were just saying Liz the whole time,
and it clearly read How to Win Friends and Influence People.
It really threw me off, and it wasn't. Yeah, it was like not a very natural conversation. And then my podcast editor Lucy basically just edited together all of the Liz's. So there's like in our podcast folder, there's this track that just goes Liz, 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 Liz. It was so funny. But yeah, I think And do you know what? I feel like I'm learning so many lessons, because one of the other ones that I find, and this isn't exclusively, but often when I invite a guest on, rather than them pitch to me, it often feels a lot easier. I think just because I've like picked them for a reason, I know what I want to ask them. And like sometimes that isn't true. Like sometimes I still accept pitches, because every now and then I'll get one in and I'm like, oh, I never would have thought of this topic. Like, this is really cool. And I go for it. But then there are some people where I'm like, we just didn't gel as well as I think we would have done if I'd gone out and like picked the person. So I feel like that's going to be a long lesson for me of sort of picking the right people.
It's tough. I think you've done more episodes than me. I'm on episode 150 coming up to you.
Oh, we're similar. I'm like 160 something, I think.
Gosh. But I think it's just going to be something that you keep honing and improving on. Because sometimes like I'll be chatting with someone, and this is the bad thing. It's safety in numbers, so hopefully nobody can work out who we're talking about. But sometimes I'll just be the odd person you think, oh, I should have done a written piece with you. You're a bit boring.
Oh my goodness, yes. Okay, so hopefully I've done enough episodes that no one can guess who it is. But the other one that I have noticed is I've had a couple of people pitch me an idea, and I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool. Like, let's chat about that. But then they don't have 40 minutes worth to talk about it. And so sort of 10 minutes in, they've said what they wanted to say. And then I'm like, it's almost like I'm having to like fill in the gaps, and I'm having to do the sort of heavy lifting of the conversation. So that's an interesting one. And that would be like a tip for anyone pitching. Like, make sure you can talk about the topic for 40 minutes.
Exactly. Goodness me. I mean, I guess also the other lesson you'll have learned is that you kind of need to be switched on as well. So you'll have upped your reading, no doubt. You'll be following along lots of blogs and newspapers and industry sites, and listening to other podcasts. And I'm not the smartest kid on the block, but I try and stay up to date with what's happening in the industry, and obviously get that. I'm in a very lucky position because I get pitched lots of press releases for the magazine. It's a bit of give and take, isn't it? You have to be knowledgeable as well. And dig around the theme that they've proposed. But sometimes, like you say, you just get somebody who haven't really kind of got enough to talk about on any given subject, which is frustrating when it's so much work involved. Yeah,
it can be hard work. And that point, I don't like, podcasting is not to put anyone off, because it's like the most amazing thing ever, but it is so much work. Yeah. And I say that as someone who outsources a huge chunk of it, like I outsource the editing, but it's still a lot of work. But there are, there's loads of benefits. But I don't know if you found this, but I found that it took such a long time before I started to see any sort of, I guess, like traction or like benefits to my business from doing a podcast. And I think the only thing that kept me going was that I enjoyed doing it so much. So it felt like a real passion project. So it actually didn't matter that it wasn't necessarily like, bringing in loads of clients or doing this or doing that, because I just wanted to do it. But I do think that if I hadn't loved it, I would have given up in the first year and not kept going, because it took, I would say, at least a year before I saw any like, oh, okay, actually, I can see how this is having a positive impact on my business.
Yeah, that's a commitment, isn't it? I think, if you're going to start something like this, it has to be, okay, I'm going to make a really good go of this. I'm going to give it 2 years. I'm going to commit to making this successful. And most importantly, like you say, I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not going to be for everybody, for sure.
No.
Yeah.
So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the wonderful marketing medium of podcasting, and how it can help your business and your reputation. And it is a slow burner, definitely. But I find that every guest that you have on, it's so strange because you're behind a microphone and you have this, it's like very powerful speed networking, isn't it?
Yes. That's such a good way to put it. Yeah.
I'm so clever. I like it when Liz says, that's such a good question. Or I feel seen. No, because it is, it is unnerving chatting with somebody who has got a really successful podcast and is doing really well from it. So when you have somebody like yourself who knows the things that we go through and the struggles and the wins and the highs and the lows and the, I can't be bothered to do this anymore moments, it's really nice. It's good. And this is why I keep saying to you, you're great, because it's like a power networking thing, yes, but it can also be quite a lonely business, can't it? Because it's just you doing it. And yeah, you can ask for feedback from people. They'll probably be very nice, but essentially it's just down to you. So yeah, you're right. It is a big commitment.
Yeah. I think that the networking point is so interesting though, because when I went into it, like I didn't ever consider that, or that's what would happen. But basically, if you spend an hour talking to someone in this like intimate format, like you actually make a pretty strong connection with them, even if you've never met them before. And so what I realized was happening is that I was like inviting all these people that I admired from like my industry, or, just like that were sort of really good on particular topics and things, and learning from them. And then building relationships with them afterwards, like to the point where, not with every guest, but with quite a lot of them, I could message them and be like, I've got this idea, like, do you want to collaborate on this? Or, I saw this, like just sending each other useful things, and sort of then continuing to build that relationship. And like, it's had incredible benefits for me, where people who've been on maybe have recommended other people, or have put me in touch with people that I probably could have never, got in a room with by myself, all just from having a nice like conversation for an hour, like connecting with them. And so then, yeah, I had the same sort of revelation as you, where I was like, oh my goodness, this is like the ultimate networking tool that I never realized.
Yeah. And honestly, if anybody's listening to this and they've been thinking about doing some podcasting, it doesn't cost a huge amount to get started, does it? You can get very good quality equipment you can get a decent microphone for less than 50 quid.
Yeah. That is, I think, one of the things that people would be surprised by. I think the main investment is your time, but the actual equipment that you need, like for the longest, at the beginning, I hosted it on my website, so I didn't have to pay any. I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing that because I got no stats and it was terrible. But like there is ways that you can do it for like really minimal, like not have to pay for hosting. I think for a long time I used a free plan of like a Riverside. It wasn't Riverside, but like that sort of tool. So for ages I didn't have to pay for that either. I did get an okay mic, but I got like cheap sort of headphones. Like you don't have to spend loads. I mean, you could even get away with like recording it on your phone in the like notes app. And there's so many tools now for like editing that improve the audio. Like, I mean, I guess that's one of the areas where I find AI exciting, because I'm like, oh my goodness, you've made this sound like I was in a studio and I wasn't. So thanks for that.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? There's always this argument that AI is going to replace someone's job. But what if it's just, a small studio or a small business like ours, where we wouldn't hire those people anyway because we can't afford them. And then actually we do hire people. You work with Lisa, I work with James, but I would love to be able to have an easier way to do video clips. I know Riverside has got a good facility, but that's only going to get better, isn't it? And just to be able to go to events and upload all of my kind of video footage and just throw it onto the computer and say, make that into a reel, please, in 2 seconds. I mean, it's naughtily admitting that, but I just can't afford somebody to do that for me, and never have. It is what it is. Running a podcast can be as expensive as you want it to be. It can be as cheap as you want. Just the most important thing is just get started.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is, like, you have to start before you feel ready. Otherwise, Like you can't really get all of your ducks in a row before you start. Like, yeah, you can invest in some bits, but you need to, you just need to go for it and work it out as you go along, and then just trust the process of it improving as you go. And it's almost like you don't know what you need to learn until you start doing it. And then you're like, oh, okay, I need to like improve this bit and I need to improve this bit. But until you've done it, like you wouldn't have known that. So how could you have prepped that ahead of time?
Well, it's true. And when people come to me and say, how do I get started on a podcast? And it's always nice that they ask. I have like a blog post on Creative Boom somewhere, you know, tips article, how to get started. And I probably should update it actually, because I think I wrote it in 2020. But it is one of those things you just have to jump in and work it out as you go along. But I find that part the fun bit.
Yeah, I enjoy that as well. Like, well, it's funny. Different things I find it harder and easier with. Like some things I do get in my head, like other projects I do get in my head with it about. But like with podcasting, I actually I think I get a thrill out of learning new things. So it's like that challenge of like, oh, okay, I'm learning new skills doing this. Like, this is amazing. And so I think that gets me excited. Obviously, you know, you are learning those skills publicly. So everyone gets to like watch you improve. But I also think that makes people more relatable. Like I'm kind of over super polished. Yeah, I'm over super polished content, like over rehearsed. Oh, you know, like I want to hear real people talking, and I don't want it to be perfect. And you know, like there's research. My husband works in online education, so like online courses, and I remember him saying to me that there's research that students respond better if the like production of the course is less polished, if it isn't like this really slick perfect thing. And that was sort of the opposite of what I would have thought to be true. Like I was putting loads of pressure on myself, like unless it's, you know, like in a studio and it's super slick, then it's not going to be a good experience for people. And him saying that was actually like really sort of liberating to me, because it made me realize actually it's not about things being the slickest and the best quality. You know, like actually if you bring something that's like relatable and personable, people can connect with that, then they are super forgiving of like, you know, your camera not being the crispest or, you know, whatever it is. And I think that's actually really cool. And you see that on social media as well. You know, people are always saying, you know, it's the less polished, more, you know, I just recorded this on my phone sort of content that actually does better, which I think is so interesting.
Well, we're smart, aren't we, as humans? We can spot a kind of, you know, try harder.
Yeah.
And it really puts us off, I think, because we just end up rolling our eyes. I mean, I'm not going to mention any names, but there are podcasts out there who have got the studio. The lighting is incredible. The production quality of the videos, they've got it all set up. They might even have a dedicated space. I don't listen to those podcasts.
Yeah.
I just find them so up their own backside. So I'm being really kind of bitchy now. But I mean, like over there, you can carry on doing your thing. We're going to do our less polished thing over here on purpose. Because really, honestly, I wanted to make something, and I know you feel the same way. I wanted to make something that I would want to listen to.
Yeah.
And it's why I don't have video as well, because I think a few video clips for social media, fine, it's great. But actually, I just want to keep it to audio, because that might be a mistake long term, because I know YouTube's taking off these days, isn't it? YouTube's getting quite popular.
But YouTube's actually rubbish for podcasts, I discovered the other day. I tried to upload mine.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute shambles. And I then had to go through and delete every single episode. It took me ages because it just isn't really set up that well for it. And I know there are lots of people who like to watch a podcast on YouTube. I'm not one of them. I don't ever watch. I always just listen. So yeah, I'm similar to you. Like I have dabbled. I found a really cute little studio in Cardiff, and so occasionally, if I've got a guest in Cardiff, we'll go into the studio. But on the most part, you know, like I just do it all online. I don't put it on YouTube. And same as you, like I have, you know, like I do think it's nice to have video clips. I have noticed that works better than when I had sort of just audiograms. But yeah.
But I've got a really good reason why I don't have video. So I don't know if it was on some research I read ages ago, but when people know that they're not being filmed, they relax more. If they know they're on camera, they start to overthink what they're saying. Now, we're just going to sound like complete manipulative queens now, aren't we?
Yeah.
The fact is, you want your guests to feel relaxed so they can open up and provide an interesting conversation for the listeners. And if they're on camera, they will be thinking about their every facial expression, their every move. Their brain will be working in overdrive for the wrong reasons. And you just want them to just chat.
Yeah. I think that's such a good point.
This episode of the Creative Boom podcast is supported by the School of Communication Arts, the most awarded ad school in the world. Their brand new SCA online portfolio course gives you the tools, mentorship, and industry-ready briefs to help you break into the creative world, wherever you are. And right now, you can get £500 off with the code BOOM500. To show what's possible, we spoke to Charlie Bowden, now creative director at Kessels Kramer, with a background in graphic design and a bold, unconventional approach to creativity. We asked, what was the biggest mindset shift you had while at SCA?
I think the biggest change that came of me from the SCA was perhaps twofold. One, I came from a traditional art school background, and there is obviously within advertising like a huge commerce business part, and I just found I think I took it became quite fluid, but the shift between art and commerce, there's the documentary. I'll do that again. I think the biggest shift that happened to me at the SCA, coming from a traditional art school background, was the marriage of the creative side, but then also the business side of it all. And that's something that you learn all through your career as you go on. But actually being kind of put into that at the beginning, I found really helpful.
Thanks so much to Charlie for his insight. If you're ready to shift your mindset and supercharge your creative career, check out SCA online portfolio at schoolcommunicationarts.com and use code BOOM500 to save £500.
So I did this really brilliant podcast episode with this person called Sophie Cliff, and she is a joy coach. I think that's how she described herself. But one of my biggest takeaways, and I don't know if you have this, but every now and then I'll have a guest that says something that sticks with me for ages, and I literally think about it for months. And one of the things that she said was basically that the word should is one of the biggest killers of creativity. And so just hearing you talk then, I just think as business owners, we get so in our head about, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And I think ultimately, you just have to know what you're like and what you enjoy and accept that you're going to find your way to do it. And that's okay. And yes, someone else over there, is doing this super slick, polished studio thing, and that's great for them.
Yes,
but it doesn't have to be great for me, and that's okay.
Again, it comes back to what's the category of the podcast? Who's the audience? Are they kind of keen to see that on screen? It works in many regards, and I watch a couple of podcast shows on YouTube, and I really enjoy them. But I think for this, it's just it's not. I'm not suggesting we're not worth it. I just don't think it needs it because we're more relaxed.
Yeah.
I think it's
your personality as well, isn't it?
Totally.
We're just chill. So it would be weird.
Chilled out.
Yeah, totally.
It would be really strange. Can you imagine me looking at the camera? I would do. So I might put this on. Okay, I was taught this by my lovely friend Chris. He's in Australia now. But this is a power move. So you hold this it's a power move. So you put your hands together like that in almost like a prayer. And if you sort of put it to your mouth as well, like that, when you're thinking in between your little speech, apparently that shows real kind of intelligence and power.
My goodness, I have seen people doing that. I'm going to look out for that now.
You command the room. Because if you do that power move with your hands, people go, oh, this is a woman who knows what she's talking about. And by the way,
so
disclaimer,
funny?
I don't.
yeah, same.
I think it's bad enough that I got a neon light, but
No,
you know.
I am jealous of your neon lights. I have decided that is like, that's the sign that you've made it, Katie, that you've got your logo in neon lights behind you.
No, don't.
Yeah, but your logo's so cute. It needs to
cute.
be. It needs to be.
I think you're right. I think I just about get away with the neon light.
You
because
totally do.
The eyes are super cute. And it was my lovely friend Angela, who was on this podcast a long while ago. Hello, Angela. She said, get yourself a neon sign and then you'll have made it.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh.
Honestly, that's my barometer of success. I'm not quite there yet. I haven't got my neon sign.
Oh, come on. What would you get?
I don't know. I can't. My logo is just my name written out, so I can't do that. That would be appalling. To literally have my name in lights above.
I would love it. I would absolutely love it if you did that. But, you've just inspired an idea. Shall we, at some point in the future, Liz, for a laugh, do a parody video podcast where we both rock up dressed completely absurdly.
And do power moves.
We'll do power moves, but we'll take it really seriously.
Okay, but can we do it? Let's find a studio where we can meet and do it and make it super high production and just not us at all. I'm into this idea. I'm there.
This is so good. And we'll have to think of something really serious to talk about.
And one of us will have to cry. Otherwise, we won't have done it properly.
I don't mind crying. I can bring on the tears.
Yeah, I can as well.
It's like, what's the name of that wonderful actor, Between Two Ferns? We'll do something like that. Zach, what's he called? His surname. He was in The Hangover.
Oh, I know the one you mean. Yeah.
Between Two Ferns. He gets like some really famous guests on and just asks them absurd questions and they all have to try and keep a straight face. It's very good.
Oh, so fun. I'm into this.
So what have you found? I mean, you say this podcast that you do has opened doors and built brilliant relationships. And it's obviously helped you build skills you didn't realise, you didn't have. I'm putting words in your mouth. I certainly think it's built my confidence, the way I can chat with people when I go out there and present to the world, I guess. But what else has it done? Has it brought in actual direct work?
I don't know if you find this,
you wouldn't be able to quantify it.
I find it really hard to quantify because what I've realised is that my podcast is sort of part of an ecosystem. And so people don't usually come just from that one thing alone. Like, I definitely think it helps people to find me, but then usually they'll consume other content as well. And then they'll make a decision about whether to work with me. So it's very rare that someone's like, your podcast was the thing, that made me want to work with you. I think that it's definitely brought me work with brands. So I've got quite a long ongoing relationship with Adobe, and I would actually credit that to the podcast because the story of how I got that was absolutely hilarious, where basically about a year in I thought, I'm spending quite a lot of money on this podcast, I should probably try looking for a sponsor. But my podcast was still pretty small, so I didn't have sort of great aspirations as to what I could achieve with that. But I put up a story basically saying, I'm going to start looking for a sponsor. If anyone's interested, let me know. Anyway, this guy replied to me and was like, oh, I'd be interested to find out more. Can you send out some information? And I was like, yeah, sure. Let me know your email address. And it was like his name at adobe.com. And I obviously freaked out. And so then I sent him over, I didn't have a slide deck at that point. So then I quickly made a slide deck, sent it over to him. And then nothing happened with it, which that's exactly what I expected. But unbeknownst to me, he had recommended me to a colleague of his who was setting up an ambassador program in the UK. And it was all supposed to be aimed at small businesses. And I was creating a lot of content around that. And so he was like, oh, I listened to Liz's podcast. I think her content, based on her content, I think she'd be perfect for this. And so since then, that was 4 years ago, I think, I've worked consistently with them. So I do credit that to the podcast, even though it wasn't them saying, yes, we'll sponsor your podcast. It led to something else. I guess that's the sort of networking aspect of it. If I hadn't put out that story, that connection wouldn't have been made. Yeah. I guess that's I don't know if you've seen the trend that's going around of the butterfly effect. I guess that's there's a trend at the moment where people are making reels being my butterfly effect is, and then they'll talk about something that happened years ago that sort of impacted where they are now.
Very cool.
So yeah, and then I've like worked with other, as it's sort of grown, I have worked with other brands who've like wanted to sponsor it. So like Riverside, iStock, people like that.
Just, very small,
yes,
amazing brands.
So that's been really, really cool. And I think the networking piece has been huge for me. So just in terms of like who I've been able to meet and chat to, like literally some of my design heroes, like one of mine is Jessica Hish. I just adore her. I think she's amazing. And so I got to chat to her, and she was just brilliant. I think the confidence one is huge as well. When I sort of started it, I just kind of come off the back of my second maternity leave, and I think my confidence was kind of at an all-time low. So this was like actually a really nice project to just sort of build that back up again. And I think it's really transferable. I think having to do the podcast has like made me better at presenting work to clients, like having that confidence to talk to people, to explain my ideas, in an almost like pressured situation where you don't have a script or anything like that. You just have to be able to talk about something, answer a question on the fly. And then I've been doing more public speaking recently, and I genuinely think that the podcast has helped me get better at A, telling a story, but B, just like articulating my thoughts sort of more effectively. So yeah, confidence is like huge. And I think, I just find it like a really creative, I don't know if you find this, but I like having lots of different ways to express myself creatively. And so like, my day-to-day is like design and doing branding, but I actually love having this like completely different creative outlet that is not related. It is related, but do you know what I mean?
Channel.
It's not me sitting at a screen, like moving pixels around. It's me sort of chatting to people and connecting with them. So I'm a huge fan. I've had lots of benefits, definitely.
Well, this is why we're here. And like you say, it's had all these opportunities come through. You now have these things that you can put on your CV or your website. It gives you that credibility. When you apply yourself to something that isn't easy, it's actually quite hard to do and it's time consuming. And you actually make the effort. It's just incredible what can come out of that. I do agree. I love it. I absolutely love doing this. I know off camera, off microphone, you and I would probably swap a few stories, although we've been very discreet with each other. We haven't revealed who we didn't like. I just keep teasing you and saying you'll have to take me for a pint, and then I'll tell you.
You do tease me. One day I'm gonna take you up on that offer, and I'm gonna be like, right, tell me everything.
Yeah, there've been some oddballs, haven't there? And occasional egos, and you just kind of take it in your stride, and you just think, well, at the end of the day, that could be a defense mechanism, or you don't know what's going on in people's lives. Yeah. And the fact that they've given up an hour of their time to chat with you, I mean, it's humbling, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I don't know if you've got thoughts on this, but one of the things that I love about it is how like mutually beneficial it is. So obviously it's really great for me to have a great guest on my podcast and grow my show and all this kind of thing. But it's also such good PR for them. Like it's so good for them in terms of, like showing that they can talk about their expertise and all this kind of stuff. And so I really love that. But I know that there's lots of people that have got thoughts on, like some people charge for people to be on their podcast, or some people expect to be paid to be on someone's podcast, which I find really interesting.
Yeah.
But I just think I really like it because it just does feel so mutually beneficial. Like it feels like a really nice exchange.
I want to know who's charging and who's paying,
I mean, there are people out there. Well, so I can give you, I don't know if I can.
Maybe not. Maybe that's a conversation away from the mic.
Maybe that one's for the pint. But I spoke to someone who's got a very big podcast, and he basically said that, so he doesn't charge people to be on, but some people are so desperate to be on that they'll message him and be like, I'll pay this amount. And he just says yes.
Wow. Well, to be honest,
money.
Would you take the money?
I'm not sure I would, to be honest.
Well, you could do good with it. You could like,
True,
you know,
yeah.
You could start a little charity, or
Yeah.
you know, you could like donate that money to a local creative college.
Yeah. I mean,
Or you could pay for your patio out the back and sit in the garden or somewhere.
To be fair, no one's offered to pay me.
Well, no one's offered to pay me, to be honest.
But I think, yeah, it's an interesting one. I think ultimately, you know, it has to feel like a fair exchange for both sides. And for some people, you know, going on my podcast wouldn't be a good use of their time. And probably for me, you know, paying someone to be on wouldn't be a good use of my money. So I think, you have to find the right balance, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I was just thinking then, whilst you were chatting, you know, about all the social media stuff that's going on, Mark Zuckerberg declaring social media is dead, and everybody kind of realizing that owned platforms are the future rather than rented spaces, because we're sick of them changing the goalposts. Also, there's a kind of, I think, I don't know, this is just my kind of take on it. I feel like people are moving away from that public space and moving into private communities as well. Do you ever sort of worry about giving yourself away a lot, you know, because you naturally end up talking about yourself and how you feel? And is there kind of that same anxiety that you might get, say, if you posted a picture of yourself a video of yourself talking on TikTok? Or is that just me? Am I just, you know, imposing my kind of insecurities on you, Liz? You can tell me to get lost.
No, I do. It is something that I think about. Like, every now and then I do notice that I share things, I'm much more personal. You know, like I'll share much more personal thoughts and experiences on the podcast, because it does just feel like I'm having a chat with someone, which is obviously being recorded. And sometimes I am a bit like, oh, did I, you know, was that a bit too much? And you know, like on some, maybe less on my podcast, but maybe on other people's podcasts, you know, you get a bit of that vulnerability hangover afterwards, where you're a bit like, oh my goodness, what did I say? But on the most part, I don't worry too much about it. I do like, you know, I think it's a really great way for people to be able to get to know me, and, you know, like, not to get too cliched about it, but there is that element of people needing to know you before they're willing to work with you, or, you know, to build up that trust. And I do think that podcasting is just such a good way. It's such a good way to build up trust, because you kind of have to be yourself. Like, it's really hard to be someone that you're not over 170 episodes. Like, I just couldn't keep that up. And so I think
it'd be exhausting.
Yeah, it'd be so exhausting. So I think it's a nice way for people to get to know you. I think the thing that's a bit disarming is when you meet people that you haven't met before, and they feel like they know you a lot more than they do, because obviously they've been listening to your voice loads. So I have had people where they're like, I recognize your voice. And I'm like, oh, that's a bit freaky, but okay. But on the most part, I think it's just, you know, it's a really nice way for people to get to know you. And I don't worry too much about what I overshare. Like, I am a bit, I think it's when I talk about like personal stuff, like my family and my kids and stuff, that then I'm a bit like, oh, did I go a bit too far?
No.
But mainly just because I don't really share any of them on social media. So then but it's a different format, isn't it? And that is what I love about podcasting, is it is that much more like intimate, you know, you can just be yourself in a much sort of more, I don't know how to say it, in a much more effective way, I think. You can just relax, I guess. You can just chat.
You have to go through that process actually when you do a podcast, don't you? You have to like yourself, and you have to sort of get to know yourself, because you do go through this. I mean, I certainly did. When I first started my show, I was looking around at my competition, and was like, oh my gosh, they're really serious and professional. Oh my God, I'm going to have to be really serious and professional. Oh my God, this is not what I'm like. So you go through a phase where you're trying to be serious and professional, and you just cannot keep up the facade. And then you realize, well, actually, you know, if I'm going to be unique, if I'm going to stand out, then one really great way to do that is just to chill out and be myself. Warts and all, northern humour, you know, stumbling over words sometimes. Just do it. You never know. Some people might like it. And here we are,
Some
nearly
people
a million
did like it,
downloads later, and some losers are still listening to the show. Thank you, listeners.
Do you know what my absolute favourite compliment is? Is when someone messages me after an episode and say that I asked all the questions that they would have wanted to ask. So it felt like they were there, and that they felt like, you know, what they were interested in about that person got asked. And I just think that's the ultimate compliment, because I want it to be, you know, I want it to be relatable. I want people to be able to feel part of it. I don't want it to be this thing that feels totally out of reach for people.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we totally click, because we've got the same vibe on that. Like, there's nothing about the sort of like slick, super professional.
Yeah, but that's our charm, I think.
Yeah,
that's the appeal.
So. Yeah, definitely.
Like, it goes back to that slick, you know, your partner saying, you know, students respond better to less polished courses. You know, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to keep saying, telling myself anyway.
Exactly. There we go. I've gifted you that. So now you can justify everything you do with that, with research that Liz's husband mentioned.
Oh dear, it's just going to go downhill from here, I'm afraid. Well, I've really enjoyed this chat. I'm sure people listening to this who've been considering doing a podcast are now convinced. Have you got any last kind of advice to give someone thinking about doing this out there that just hesitating, they just don't quite dare do it?
I think if it's something you think that you would enjoy, I would really recommend pitching to be on a few other people's podcasts and just giving it a go. Like, that's such a good way to find out if you actually enjoy the process. And if you do think that you're going to enjoy it, the way I did it was I just committed to doing a 12 episode season just to see if I liked it. And I figured if I didn't like it, that's just evergreen content that can sit there. You know, I don't have to do anything beyond that. And I think if you break it down into a chunk like that, it's actually quite a low risk thing that you can try. And if it turns out that you love it, it could be like one of the most amazing things that you ever do for your business. So I would say just go for it. Don't try and be polished and don't try and be perfect, and set yourself like a small, manageable season that you can sort of try it out with.
I love that we end with some Yoda philosophy. There is no try.
Yeah. Just do it.
Just get out there and do it and have fun. You know, what's the worst that can happen? Oh, so you didn't enjoy it? No big deal. It's on your CV and your website, and you might have met some great people along the way.
Yeah.
Well, as I fan myself on this very warm morning, thank you so much, Liz, for joining us on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I loved it.
A huge thanks to our guest, Liz Mosley, for such a great laugh this Monday morning. Really enjoyed putting the world to rights on podcasting and sharing our experiences. Definitely learned a few things myself. I think she is such a natural with her show. She's really inspired me today. So if you haven't yet checked it out, go to buildingyourbrand.net, where you can find all of the links to her past episodes. Honestly, it's a brilliant, brilliant show. So make sure you add it to your list. Make sure you tune in again on Thursday for The Spark, our bonus episode with Liz, where we get to know her a little better and ask her a bunch of silly questions, from the absurd to the deep and meaningful. And don't forget, if you want to subscribe, you can do so at creativeboom.com/podcast, or find us wherever you get your podcasts. Yes, that last bit was scripted. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on Monday. Oh no, I'll see you on Thursday. Oh gosh, right, this is where I need some scripts. Big thanks to the School of Communication Arts for sponsoring this season of the Creative Boom podcast. Don't forget, their brand new SCA online portfolio course is now live. It's the perfect way to break into the creative industries from wherever you are. Real briefs, top mentors, one incredible opportunity. Visit schoolcommunicationarts.com to find out more. And to enjoy £500 off the price of the course, use our special code BOOM500 at checkout.